Cloudcast Media.
Drew Schlosberg Spotlight on the Community Show, amplifying the voices of social impact organizations, entrepreneurs, local nonprofits, and other community champions who shape the culture, creativity, and connectivity of San Diego. Brought to you by Mission Fed Credit Union, bringing good things to San Diego for over 60 years. Learn more about what is good for you and good for all by visiting www.missionfed.com.
I'm Drew Schlosberg of Cloudcast Media. Always a good day when we have a return appearance from one of our superstar organizations and community leaders, even though he's new to San Diego, already making big footprints, and that is Grant Oliphant, CEO of the Conrad Prebys Foundation. Thanks for coming back on so quickly.
Drew, thank you for having me. You're a glutton for punishment.
I am not a glutton for punishment. You are coming on my show over here, so we really appreciate it. And, we're going to have you on quite a bit and talk about all the great work that you folks do, and then the people that you touch, and the great stories and the impact. And always is with me, you have a new title now, Neville, co-host of the Spotlight on the Community Show. Whenever
I've graduated.
You're here. Very good. You did graduate. Very, very good.
I got to call my mom.
Absolutely. I'll give you a pay raise of the same that I'm making. So that's very good. And Neville is the longtime senior VP of community and relations and marketing for Mission Fed Credit Union, and just been a long time business associate of mine since you came into San Diego. How many years ago now?
Oh, I've been in San Diego a while, but at Mission Fed for 20 years. We met 20 years ago.
20 years at a watering hole, of course. And I've been doing some pretty cool stuff collaboratively, and I really appreciate that. But we got a special guest joining us, Grant and Neville. This is Esha Walia. She was shadowing today to see what is this podcast stuff all about. She is a business major at Northeastern University with a journalism minor, and so thought she'd add some spunk to the show. What do you think about that?
That is a great combination, by the way, business and journalism. We'll have to talk about that.
Definitely.
Very good. So welcome, Esha. How you doing?
I'm good. How are you?
So this is what, your 100th podcast you've been on?
Oh, yeah. I'm a seasoned professional.
You're a seasoned professional over here. So that's great. And you enjoying Northeastern?
I am, but not the weather.
But not the weather. Oh, my goodness. So is it either too hot or too cold?
It's pretty much always too cold.
Really?
Yeah.
Even in the summer?
Yeah, I'm never there in the summer, but...
Very good. I get that. And you're more than happy welcome to ask some questions of Grant and Neville as well. So Grant, just real quickly, we talked about this before, the mission of the Conrad Prebys Foundation.
Yeah, so the mission of the Conrad Prebys Foundation is to lift the prospects and quality of life in the San Diego region. We do that by focusing on the arts and medical research, healthcare, medical treatment, and youth development and higher education.
I hope your ears were burning because, and I'm not sure if you saw them, but leaving the studio was our friends from San Diego Junior Theater.
I ran into them in the lobby, which was great.
Yes, and they shouted you out on the show and said, of all the great work that you folks have been doing on some of their programs as well. And we mentioned this when Grant came on before. He came from a very venerable foundation back in Pittsburgh, and now is going to do some great things for us here in San Diego. We're very excited about it. And one of them is you're co-chairing this cause conference. Why don't you talk about that?
Yeah, well, so I was invited to do this as I was coming into town, and I understand the cause conference has a long history in San Diego. Now the organizers are in the midst of trying to make it an even stronger part of the tradition here. And the notion is to engage the for-profit community alongside the nonprofit community and government in thinking more aggressively and differently about the importance of social issues and the relationship between today, the future prospects of business, and the solving of the social dilemmas that bedevil us as a society. So it felt to me like a particularly important topic right now, given that we face really enormous challenges in San Diego and all around the world. We need all hands on deck. And so I'm in for any effort to try and bring more people into the cause.
Yeah, spot on that. And I was honored to be a charter member of Cause Conference with Parker Pike. Who I think I started this, if I'm not mistaken. Maybe I'm wrong on that. Neville, you've been involved in this almost since the get-go when you got here, correct?
Actually, Mission Fed's been actively involved for over a decade.
Right.
I co-chaired 3 of the last 5 years that it was in person.
Right.
I was part of that pivot to not just focusing on your tax status as a nonprofit, but your social impact regardless if you're a business, see yourself as a business as a force for good, a philanthropist that's trying to move the needle from generosity to justice, cause player in the space, nonprofits typically that are doing mission-driven work. This evolution in what Aspen Institute calls the fourth estate, right? The intersection of public, private, and social sector.
Yeah.
So this is why I was stoked to have Grant carry the baton over the next leg of the run here.
I love how you put that, because that's exactly the intersection of all of those sectors is exactly what we're trying to motivate.
Yeah, and it's going to be held on the 15th of September. I know that well because that butts up against an event that we're doing, Classroom of the Future, with superintendent's reception. But it's okay; we're all here for the merrier and all that business. Yeah. I told my buddy Peter Kallstrom, you can only spend 3 minutes at the reception of the Cause Conference, and you got to come. And you got to come over to ours. Peter is the CEO of the Workforce Partnership. We had him on the show, I think, last week, as you know,
and a fabulous leader.
He's great. He's a great guy. He's a lot of fun in that aspect of it. So let me ask you this, Esha: do you guys work, whether it's in your business classes or in journalism, on causes and cause marketing at all?
A little bit, yeah. I think I've mainly been taking classes that focus more on the accounting and finance side, but I'm excited to get more into marketing this semester.
Right. And I think one of the misnomers of this, Neville, you and I talk about it quite a bit, and Grant, it's in your DNA. People don't realize how much nonprofits contribute to the economy of the region, big time.
Yeah.
And I think that's important for people to know.
Well, if you think about it, nonprofits are a key driver of the economy. They represent statistically a relatively small percentage of the total economy. I think in San Diego, it's about 10%.
Right.
But if you think about the role that those institutions play, where would the life sciences sector, which has been the growth engine of San Diego in the last decade, be without the university structure that we have here, or without the medical and healthcare structure that we have here? They're not only saving lives, they're not only inventing new technologies, but they are the intellectual momentum behind the economy and the economic growth that we're seeing.
Yeah, without question on this, and might have even touched base on this before, and Neville knows this. I was honored to be a part of the USD School of Leadership and Ed Sciences, which has the nonprofit institute that works very closely with this, and we really can't do enough to build up those 8,000 nonprofits, whatever the number is these days. That we're going with. Most of them, of course, making no money but doing just great things in the community, and that's not lost. Shouldn't be lost on anyone. And I know that's something of very importance to your foundation.
Yeah, well, I won't be talking about this so much at the Cause Conference, but I am going to be keynoting the USD Nonprofit Institute Conference, which will be coming up in October, where the nonprofit community will be gathering to talk about issues facing it in a particular kind of way. And one of the things I've been thinking about a lot is how hard it is to be a nonprofit leader at the moment. I think in general, we're seeing a lot of people in our society struggle with all kinds of issues around what their role is and how society is going to address the very real issues that we face. But in the nonprofit space, those are felt particularly hard. And most of the leaders that I know are struggling with how to retain people, how to pay people in a highly competitive economy, and how to keep that mission orientation alive in a sector that feels overwhelmed often. So it's it's a really important time for us to be having that conversation as well.
Yeah, without question. We're chatting with Grant Oliphant, CEO of the Conrad Prebys Foundation. I'm Drew Schlosberg of Cloudcast Media, joined by Neville Billimoria, Senior VP of Marketing and Community Relations for Mission Federal Credit Union, and honored to have joining us Esha Walia. She is a student, will be a sophomore at Northeastern University, shadowing this podcast today, coming here from the Mission Fed Credit Union studio. And we're thrilled that Spotlight the Community has got this partnership with Mission Fed on this. So Neville, I know you were all geeked up when you got Grant to be a co-chair on this. Can people still sign up for the conference?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, they can go to causesd.org, I think is the conference, or just Google Cause Conference San Diego 22.
Right, exactly. And I think I saw you on the program. Is that correct?
Yeah, I'm facilitating a session on systems change.
Right.
Trying to think about, with the San Diego Food System Alliance,
right,
rather than feeding people a fish or teaching them how to fish, actually how to create a whole new fishery.
Yeah, we've had them on the show. It's fascinating. It's fascinating stuff. Did you folks do things like this back in Pittsburgh, Grant?
Oh, yeah. I mean, in terms of engaging
like cause conferences and all that.
But this feels particularly salient to me right now. It feels different. And I love the fact, Esha, that you're a business major, because that's precisely, in a way, the audience we want at a conference like this. It is wonderful and appropriate that so many folks from the nonprofit community will be there. But really what we also need at the same time is people in business who are entrepreneurs or at large corporations who have a social purpose in mind and understand that the connection between their work and their future success and dealing with social issues is really important. We're seeing more and more of tomorrow's workforce want to be working for companies where there is some connection with solving the big issues of the day. And I don't think that many people, Esha, maybe correct me if I'm wrong, but people in your age group are not looking to go to work for a company that's indifferent to the plight of the society around us. Am I right about that?
Yeah, you're definitely right. I think I've definitely noticed a difference, like with the students that I'm with in the business school, that everyone's wants to work for a company that they're passionate about and that actually has a mission that's important to them.
Yeah, which is, and thank you, because I think that is something that employers need to remember and entrepreneurs need to remember. And we're seeing a lot of entrepreneurs actually create companies specifically designed to solve problems.
Yeah.
And many of them become very successful. And we want to encourage more of that through this conference so that they're good partners to the nonprofit sector.
Yeah, and a lot of it's just educating people on this. And, there's been a ton of research on this for many, many, many years that we all know that consumers are going to choose that company that sort of aligns with their cause, their giving, whatever, if it's the same product. It's not knocking the other product, but this company likes to support fill in the blank, whatever your cause is, right? And we know that. And so that's so important to get that word out on these things. And, it just amazes me sometimes that people just don't understand the nonprofit world. I guess, some nonprofits do a better job than others, talking about what they do and how they do it, which is more important than saying, I need money. Yes, you need money to turn lights on. I understand that. But talking about why the mission focus is so critical. Do you folks, in your world here, with the Conrad Prebys Foundation, obviously been very benevolent in the community, but how much of this is also getting involved with working with nonprofits like the Cause Conference is doing?
I think what we're learning, the more we do in the community and the more we talk to people, is that the San Diego has a vibrant nonprofit sector, and you've interviewed a lot of them.
Right, exactly.
But everybody here would benefit from more partners, more resources, more collaboration, and more attention. And there's a craving for that among the folks that we're talking with. So it's really important, actually, for us to be working hand in glove with them on thinking about where the where the sector wants to go and what it needs. And what it needs is those elements. As much as they may have them, as much as this may be a collaborative town, we need more. As much as there may be leadership already, we need more. As much as there may be resources, we need more. And that's just a reality of being almost overwhelmed with the sheer scale of social change that needs to happen. By the way, I love the term that Neville used before from the Aspen Institute, which I think is a much better way to refer to the work of the sector. We use the term nonprofits, and that's just a tax status. It just means that they don't generate a profit. But most of the folks in this sector are going into it, not because of a tax status, but because they want their life's work to be about changing the world for the better. That's what they're focused on. And the place where they find a home for that activity is more often than not historically in this tax status sector that we call the nonprofit sector, or more, I think, positively, the social sector. And I think it's important for us to think about it that way, because sometimes there's a tendency for people to think, well, the nonprofit sector doesn't work as hard as the for-profit sector, because in our money-oriented society, if you're not making money, you're not working as hard. And the reality, in my experience, to be honest, the hardest working people I've ever met have come from the nonprofit sector, from the social sector, because when the going gets tough and all of their resources are being stripped away, they will work 24/7 to still deliver on their mission.
Yeah. You're spot on. I want you to hold on to that thought, because I want to bring that up when we come back from our break, as we were chatting with Grant Oliphant, CEO of the Conrad Prebys Foundation, joined by Neville Billimoria, Senior VP Marketing Community Relations for Mission Fed Credit Union. I'm Drew Schlosberg of Cloudcast Media. Honored to have sitting in with us Esha Walia, a sophomore, or an incoming sophomore, I should say, at Northeastern University, majoring in business and journalism. And you're listening to Drew Schlosberg Spotlight on the Community on Cloudcast Media here in Mission Fed Credit Union studio, as Mission Fed has been bringing just phenomenal things to San Diego for more than 60 years. We will be right back.
When you do your banking with Mission Fed, you get great rates on auto and home loans. That's good for you, but something good also happens for a lot of other people. We're not for profit, so we put money back into the community to help lots of great nonprofits to keep San Diego strong. So you're not just getting something good, you're doing something good. Come to Mission Fed. It's banking that's good for all.
Brand amplification is the DNA of Cloudcast Media, and our code is the powerful blending of sound, voice, and storytelling to lift local brands and their communities. Whether it is our Brandcast, Schoolcast, or Causecast platforms, the unifying ethos is all about this community, the one you call home. If you dare to dream and want to explore the brand amplification of Cloudcast, a national leader in local podcasting and other Winfluence strategies, please visit us at cloudcast.us.
I'm Drew Schlosberg, and you're listening to Drew Schlosberg Spotlight on the Community on Cloudcast Media, brought to you by Mission Fed Credit Union, bringing great things to San Diego for over 60 years. Joining us on the studio is Grant Oliphant, CEO of the Conrad Prebys Foundation, joined by Neville Billimoria, Senior VP of Marketing and Community Relations for Mission Fed Credit Union, and with us, Esha Walia, sitting in on us. She is a sophomore, incoming sophomore from Northeastern University, majoring in business and in journalism. And I want to give a shout out to Grant. Thank you for being co-chair of the annual Cause Conference. That'll be on September the 15th. Neville, where's that taking place?
It's at USD at the Hans Student Center.
Right, exactly. And that's all day?
It's pretty much all day, 8 till 7. But there's different sessions.
Yeah, and
It's all day.
Pretty much all day in that aspect of it. And you go to causeconference.com or .org, or send up smoke signals, and you'll be able to find it. It's going to be a great conference on this. You were talking about something that was just so critical right during a break. I'd like you to share that with our listeners.
Yeah, of course, my most brilliant moment was during the break, and now I can't remember what I said. But the notion,
it was related to social entrepreneurs and noble purpose, and how that.
Yeah. So I wanted to amend something I said to really include a broader audience of folks who are involved in social change work. And I think that's actually the motivating factor. So be you in the social sector, nonprofit sector, or the for-profit sector, the people who I see who are fired by a passion to change the world in some way and who make their work about that are willing to work overtime and relentlessly to make that happen. And they will stop at nothing, essentially, to deliver on their mission. It's not that they can't be burned out. Of course they can. All human beings can. But they will work tirelessly to deliver on something significant that in their opinion, adds to the quality of life of the world around them. And employers should pay attention to that, by the way, because if you're trying to build a company and you want folks in this era who are going to really dive in on your behalf, then you've got to have a purpose to engage them in that way.
Yeah, without question. And I know that's music to your ear, Neville. And I think probably no one was more happy that Grant came to San Diego than Neville. Big smile on his face, knowing that you aligned so beautifully with Mission Fed's focus on it. And Neville, I know this is great for you.
Well, not just personally, but organizationally and culturally, and for uplifting humanity. I think it's the big picture, right? What is my noble purpose? What is Mission Fed's noble purpose? Where's that intersection? Because that's what drives the passion. Every time I'm in a room, there's nonprofits and for-profits, and half the room raises the hand, the other half raises the hand. We're not for-profit. So I sit right on the cusp. I get to experience and ennoble the values that mission-driven causes bring, that high engagement, that discretionary effort that people could put into the work because it's meaningful, it's fulfilling. And I'm able to sit with businesses that know how to generate income, no margin, no mission. But those don't have to be binary. A strategic purpose can drive sustainable profit. Strategic purpose can drive sustainable profit. So it's our ability to take the best of the diversity of whatever your status is, but appeal to the highest sensibilities and aspirations of all of us wanting to be significant, have meaning, have purpose in our lives. And our world of work is a huge driver of identity. So why would we not tap and unleash that potential, regardless of our tax status? When we can imagine that new context for the work we do. When you're doing what you love, it's not work. So if you can connect the dots with noble purpose, like we were joking, it's all day. Yeah, it's all day. But if I'm enjoying myself all day,
it doesn't matter.
It can roll on.
That's right. I knew I was aligned with Neville the moment I met him, because within a minute or two, he used that. He brought up that notion of what's your noble purpose. And I think so many people in our culture right now are trying to tap into that and figure that out for themselves, especially coming out of the wake of the racial reckoning in the country and COVID and the ongoing dynamics of the pandemic. People are really trying to figure out what they're about in the context of this society.
Yeah, this is a question I have for Esha, because, I'm with you 100%. I was raised in a family that gave always think about how you can help people. It was beaten into my head. It really wasn't beaten into my head. It was just you follow examples, not when people are telling you what people do. That's the most important thing. Was every individual has this opportunity to do it, and I get so tired of people saying, "Well, I'm not going to. I can't make a difference." I said, "No, it's individuals that do make the difference. And if you don't think you're not going to make a difference, then I'm going to try to correct you. You can make a difference, whether you're volunteering for 1 hour, 5 hours, 2 hours, whether you're giving 5 cents or whether you're giving $50. So the question for you is: do the young folks like you, because you're about 200 years younger than me, for God's sake, but do they know how important it is for them that they do make a difference when they volunteer for whatever?
Yeah, I think honestly, that's something that I've noticed more, especially, like seeing what people do for their extracurriculars, in high school and stuff. It's more focused now on the volunteer sector and kind of doing what you're interested in, what you can do to make a difference. Like when I was in high school, I volunteered with the ALS Association because that's a cause that's very close to my heart. And so I think now with kind of the next generation coming in, we're really seeing people focusing more on their passion and volunteering and nonprofits and what's more important to them in that side.
Yeah, and to me, if I were to wave the magic wand, I'd just let every human, there's 8 billion of us, I know, whatever the number is in the world here, you all can make a difference, okay? Yeah. Don't think you can't. Don't think because you don't have Bill Gates money or Neville Billimoria money, whatever the case may be. He's laughing right now.
I wondered where it was going to go with that.
No, I'm just teasing a little bit. But my point is, and Grant, to me, that's so important, letting people know they can make a difference, and they just have to do stuff.
Yeah, there's I can never remember the quote exactly, but there's a wonderful thought from Jewish wisdom expressed in the Talmud that says something like, no one is responsible for doing the whole work, but neither are you free to abandon the effort. And the notion is that we all do have a part to play, and that sometimes gets trivialized as almost a greeting card sentiment or a meme. But the reality is that the only thing that adds up to social change is lots of people doing something. That's the very definition of it. So when we want to accomplish something significant, it's because we tap into something deep and common and universal. We never know when it will strike. I love the idea of virality on the internet, but this has always been a question for us in society. How do you make something go big? And the internet is just the latest manifestation of that. And the answer is people sort of kind of know the ingredients, but there's an element of doggedness and perseverance, and then poetry and art and resonance and the beauty of effort. And somehow in the alchemy of that, what emerges sometimes is significant change. So we don't have a direct lever. We never have. Even, we're seen as a large foundation, and we are. But you compare our resources with the scale of need in San Diego, and they're trivial. So we really think about our work in terms of tapping into these deeper resonances, not trying to control a change that we don't actually ourselves control. And every individual at some level can do the same.
Yeah. Without question, Neville? I know you're jotting down some notes furiously.
I'm just enjoying this ride today. Thank you so much for creating the space for us to really think and be conscious about, not just conscientious, but conscious. That's a difference with distinction. What I was thinking about when Grant was sharing is small things often. This whole notion of micro habits, micro advantages. We don't have to hit home runs and grand slams. You don't have to have that $1 billion market cap. We do have to do the best we can with what we've got. And arguably in today's times, if all of us leaned in on that sentiment, we would be a much better place.
Well, and I use the food bank as an example. Our good friend Jim Floros, who was the CEO for many years, Jim was just on our show with his new business. And you think about it, and you see the people that really don't have 2 nickels to rub, but they're going to buy a 45-cent can of soup and contribute. Well, multiply that by about 1 million people or whatever the case may be. You got some real numbers on that. And so I think it's encouraging to hear folks like you, Esha, always encouraged when I see bright young folks that are going to be doing great things in the world, know that we're going to be good for a long time. We just need we need a lot of that in that aspect of it. We got a few minutes to go here. I'll start with Esha. Any final comments you'd like to make?
Yeah, actually, I do have a question for Grant, but
yes.
How do you see the nonprofit sector changing over like the next 10 years or so?
I think, my crystal ball is kind of blurry, but I think the nonprofit sector right now is wrestling with a serious case of despair, and I think it will overcome that. So I think what you'll see over the course of the next 10 years is a resurgence of, I don't know if I'd call it optimism, but determination that the sector is important and that the work it's doing is essential and that it requires all of us to be participating in it. I think it will continue to grow more closely with social entrepreneurship efforts. And so the line between the social entrepreneur movement, kind of what's represented by the Cause Conference, and what we think of as the traditional nonprofit sector will continue to merge more into the social sector, people working on solving social problems. And based on what I see from folks in your generation, I think that the support for the effort of organizations like this will continue to grow, and they will morph, and they will have new leadership that is more attuned to how to use and enlist the effort of individuals than folks in my generation have been. So I'm actually very optimistic about that, recognizing that we have really big challenges.
Yeah, that's great to hear.
Yeah, I agree as well. Neville, any final comments?
I think looking through my blurry crystal ball, the distinctions are going to be no longer based on your tax status. You're either a for-purpose enterprise of whatever flavor, or you're not. And those that are clear about their purpose, foster conscious leadership, tap collective wisdom, create cultures that are purpose-driven and highly engaged. Those are the ones that are going to set the bar and set the tone and be the place that people want to work. I know they're calling it the Great Resignation, Great Migration. The most recent one I've heard that I like the best is the Great Rethink. Begin to rethink our relationship to our world of work. And I think that the cause-based, mission-driven, purpose-oriented leaders and enterprise are going to make that happen for all of us, with the help of Esha and her next generation of cohorts that are going to rule the world.
Yeah, amen on that. Grant, any final comments?
Well, everything that Neville just said. In fact, I want to write that down as kind of a mantra for the foundation, because I think that's, and one of the takeaways for me is this idea of small things often. I can't repeat often enough how often I have seen over the years, and I've been doing this work now for almost 40 years, which is shocking to me, but I have over and over seen hard work that at the time might have seemed trivial or ineffective prove a decade or 2 decades or 3 decades later to pay off. And never in a way that you can trace it back to the one cause, because there is no one cause, but I can trace it back to lots of people working on an issue. And I just think, for me, part of what we have to get back to in this country, forget the whole conversation we're having about the nonprofit sector, the for-profit sector, is that we have an opportunity to exist as a people who are purpose-driven. I love this phrase. And to return to an idea that we have agency and a role to play and a responsibility to play it, that we have duties as citizens to and as participants in human society to contribute to each other, that we are interconnected and have these obligations. And I think that's actually the challenge of this segment of our history. And I look forward to working with everyone who cares about that same idea.
Yeah, no, that's well stated. So appreciate everyone coming on the show. This is we can talk about this for a long time, but we can't talk about it enough. We can't, the truism in journalism and communication, you got to say it once, you got to say it 1,000 times, and you really do have to do that. And that aspect of it.
Drew, can I just say that having Esha in the room forced us to up our game, because we're having to think about the long-term consequences of this work, and it's great.
Without question. And this was just a pleasant surprise over here, and so we really appreciate that. And Esha doesn't know this yet, but when she gets back to Northeastern, we're going to make sure we're we're going to get her on remotely occasionally. We'll find out the times that work for you. 3 hours different from our 9 to 11 show here, and we can't do enough more with Esha and folks like that. Grant, wishing you nothing but great success as co-chair of the Cause Conference. That is September the 15th at USD. And Neville, thanks for your great leadership over the years on that Cause Conference. And of course, go look up on the unbelievable work of the Conrad Prebys Foundation. Just go to their website. It's vibrant. It's going to become even more vibrant through Grant's leadership and so forth. Esha, I get to do this a lot. I'm going to say I knew her when, and that'll happen probably sooner than later. So thank you for joining us.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
You bet. You've been listening to another edition of Drew Schlosberg Spotlight on the Community on Cloudcast Media, brought to you by Mission Fed Credit Union, bringing great things to San Diego for more than 60 years.
You've been listening to an episode of Drew Schlosberg's Spotlight on the Community show, amplifying the voices of social impact organizations, entrepreneurs, local nonprofits, and other community champions who shape the culture, creativity, and connectivity of San Diego community. Brought to you by Mission Fed Credit Union, bringing good things to San Diego for over 60 years. Learn more about what is good for you and good for all by visiting www.missionfed.com.
Cloudcast Media.